So the first thing I want to mention, which I'm actually recording this after I've already recorded the rest of the video, so I forget exactly how I started that portion of the video. But the first thing I wanted to mention, which again, you know what I'm saying, is how Apple's control over certain things just don't make sense. For everything else that I'm going to talk about, I understand that it's a money making thing. So even though I don't agree with it, I understand. Like, all right, it makes sense. If I were working for Apple, yeah, I'd think about doing the same thing. I'm not a business guy. I enjoy the technological aspect of a lot of these things. So I know I'd probably want to make sure my products are as good as they could potentially be. But shareholders. so yeah, I get it. But this thing, which I don't get, here's my iPhone right now. As you can see, even though I'm in the small window right now, I have two icons down here at the bottom, the phone and the messages app, because that's all I use this phone for. The entire background right here is blank. And the main reason, that is, not the only, but the main reason, is I hate the amount of control that Apple has over this home screen. Right now, what you're seeing is a blank screen and a picture of me. But look what I can do. I can drag this around. I can put this wherever I want to put it. Oh, look. Here's another folder I can drag over here. Oh, look. Here's a random file. I'll put this file wherever I want to put it. You know? If I had a Windows machine right now, or a Linux machine, you'd see that, yes, on the desktop, you can put stuff wherever you want to put it. Cool. If I were to show you an Android device, and in fact, here is one. And we got it's kind of, it's set up the same way, but the main thing that's different between this and my iPhone is I have this nice little widget that I can move wherever I want to put it. Okay? I can take the Spotify app and put it somewhere else. I'm not going to leave it right there, but I have the option to truly don't make a folder. Yeah. Here, I'll just leave it there for now. But I have the option to move stuff as I see fit. So for Apple, on this iPhone, to make it so that I have to start in this top left corner and work my way across and then down, why? I don't understand why you need to put that type of limitation or that type of restriction on your customers. I don't see how that's costing them any money by allowing me or you to move the icons wherever you want to put them. Same thing with this app library. I don't need Apple curating my apps for me. I don't need Apple putting my apps in specific folders. Yes, I know if you tap the top, you just get an alphabetized list. I get that. But why isn't that just the only option? I mean, if I wanted to make folders, I would make folders. And I can make folders. I can put them here. I can create another screen. I can do everything Apple did here myself. So I don't need Apple doing that for me. And I hate the way that it looks. So I don't use it. I don't use it, and it just looks bad. And like I said, I know I can do that, but that's just unnecessary. The app library should just be that scrollable list. The app drawer on Android, in my opinion, yeah, is a very good way to do stuff. Right? I don't know if that's patented or what. Who knows? But whatever, Apple's way of doing it is wrong. I know they think they're right. Somebody in there thinks they're right, but it's wrong. And for both of those decisions, not allowing me to move my icons wherever I want to put them, as well as creating the app library and having it set up that way, I don't see how them allowing me to do things differently would cost them any money. So I know I didn't say it in the other video about the money, so I will say it again. I don't agree with anything that they've done in terms of what I'm going to talk about, but I understand it. Money. I understand. But money. I get it. So on to the rest of this video. All right, so I'm making this video specifically for one person, which really it's for everybody, but still specifically for one person, because this individual and I are constantly going back and forth talking about Apple's products. She loves the iPhone, and I don't know if that expands to their other offerings or if it's truly just the iPhone. And I would like to say that I am a huge fan of almost everything except for the iPhone. Some might say that I'm an Apple hater, which couldn't be further from the truth, but there are clear instances where Apple is taking advantage of us. And whether it's us here locally in the United States or abroad, but there are some things that they do specifically in this country that just make the overall experience worse for the only for the user. So at the end of the day, it's you, the user, who is losing, or who is losing. So, like I said, I am not an Apple hater. I am talking to you right now on a MacBook Pro. I thoroughly enjoy this thing. It's great. It's a modern marvel of technological advancement. But what you see on the screen right now is a MacBook Air. I happen to own one of those as well. Just to make it clear, I purchased all of my stuff used, so the prices you see on the screen are not what I paid. But the issue that I have with the Mac, even though, like I said, I thoroughly enjoy using it, is that right now, that starting price is okay. You can constantly find it on sale. In fact, I think on Best Buy's website, it's on sale right now for $900. So definitely can find stuff on sale. But when it comes to upgradability, one, you can't do it as an end user. You have to upgrade the stuff when you purchase it. So right here, it comes with 8 gigabytes of memory, but if you want to upgrade to 16, it's going to cost you $200. So $200 for 8 additional gigabytes worth of memory. Which, if you were to go and get a Windows PC or a PC that allows for the user to upgrade their own memory, for $200, you can get 64 gigabytes of memory. And over there in a laptop that I'm pointing at, which you can't see, I don't remember exactly how much I paid, but I did need to upgrade that machine from 32 to 64. And that additional that additional 32 gigs of RAM might have actually been $200. It was about a year and a half ago now, so prices definitely have changed. And I think that the memory in my laptop is faster than 4800 megahertz. So yeah, it's not a direct apples to apples comparison in terms of what I have and what's available here, but it's clear that if you are able to upgrade the memory yourself after the initial purchase, sure, pay the same amount of money, but you get way more than what Apple allows you for that exact same price. So $200 for 64 gigs of RAM versus $200 for 8 additional gigs of RAM. Same thing holds true when you come down to storage. So for $200 additional dollars, you go from 256 gigs of storage up to 512. So instead of looking at something on eBay, let's just go to Best Buy's website. So right now it's on sale, but the regular price, according to the number, was $200. So for $200, you can go get 2 terabytes worth of storage. So that's what? 8 times the additional increase of storage. So going from increasing by 256 gigs, which is a quarter of a terabyte, up to 2 terabytes worth of increased storage. So 8 times an increase in terms of internal storage for the same price when it's not on sale. But since it's on sale now, you do have to take that into account that, oh, I can go get a 2 terabyte drive right now for $120, which is way less than what Apple is requiring you to pay just for 256 additional gigabytes of storage. So right there, those are my main gripes when it comes to the Mac. But in terms of performance, it's great. And I know that some of the performance is so good because everything is soldered to the board. So I know it's not truly a fair thing to complain about. Well, the price I can complain about. Not being able to upgrade it after the fact. Okay, I get it. I've definitely suggested, not to Apple, but just, in the ether, that, hey, yeah, fine, have everything locked down the way that they have it and still include some type of additional PCIe slot that I can just add an additional drive. And macOS can encrypt it however it needs to be encrypted, so that way it's seen and secure in this machine. But by not allowing the user to do literally anything to the machine after they purchase it, that's only bad for the consumer. So again, love the machine, hate that upgrades cost as much as they do, hate that I can't upgrade anything myself. But that's not the main point of this particular video. The main point of this video is to talk about the iPhone, which is coincidentally the main point of the keynote that they had last week. So I have a bunch of tabs open up top, so hopefully I can do this all in one fell swoop. But in addition to those tabs, I also have a couple videos that are clips from last week's event. So let's see if I can do this.
Now, let's talk about iPhone's wired capabilities. The connector is used for charging, syncing data, or connecting to accessories. USB-C has become a universally accepted standard. So we're bringing USB-C to iPhone 15. It enables charging, transferring data, playing audio and video, and it's been built into Apple products for years. Now, the same cable can charge Mac, iPad, iPhone, and even AirPods Pro 2nd generation, which is updated with a USB-C connector. We're also bringing USB-C to EarPods so they can work with iPhone 15 seamlessly.
iPhone 15 Pro also has the new USB-C connector, but for our Pro models, we included a new USB controller in A17 Pro that enables new workflows not possible before. This is the first iPhone with USB 3 speeds up to 10 gigabits per second. Using an optional USB 3 cable that's up to 20 times faster than USB 2, enabling much higher transfer speeds.
All right, now there were a bunch of things covered in those two clips. Well, yeah, two clips. 3 on my end. I had to cut something. But anyway, so the first thing, which the gentleman, well, actually, let's start with the young lady first. So she mentions all of those things that USB-C allows for. There are two things. Well, there's one thing I can say definitively, that I have a Mac Studio right here, and there are 2 USB-C ports on the front of it. And in another video that I made, I was complaining about the fact that I can't output video from those 2 ports. And I am confident that if I spoke to somebody at Apple, and then even some people, you know, who are around, they'd say, well, you have more than enough USB-C ports on the back of the Mac that allow video out. Why do you need video out of these 2? And they'd go on to say, well, we do make a model that allows video out of those 2 front ports, but that model costs twice as much as this particular model and comes with a bunch of other things that I don't need. So yeah, to say USB-C allows for one thing, but then to cripple your product so that it doesn't actually offer that service is doing the customer a disservice, which is kind of the entire point of me talking about all of this. So yes, USB-C does allow for charging, for data in and out, for audio out, and for video out. But on this particular Mac Studio, no video out on those 2 front ports. And my guess, which I probably should have had it up sooner. In fact, let me look it up right now. All right, so actually, I was wrong. And I am okay saying that I was wrong. What I was going to say is that it wouldn't surprise me if I could not output video over the USB-C port on the regular iPhone 15. But right there, it shows DisplayPort, which then further makes me upset about the fact that this expensive desktop machine has these USB-C ports on the front, and I don't have the option to output video. So yeah, like there are so many inconsistencies that it just doesn't make any sense. But the issue, and it's on the screen right now, is that this iPhone 15 allows for USB 2 data transfer speeds, which is 480 megabits per second, which for most people doesn't mean anything, which is why graphs are important. So let's come back to this chart, which was on the screen for quite some time. But USB 2 is down here all the way almost flat with this actual line. So USB 2 is down here in terms of overall speed. I'd also like to point out the fact that USB 2 came out in the year 2000. So it is 23 years old. Nothing new by any standard. And the way that the young lady was talking about just USB-C and the gentleman too, they're acting as if they're doing us a favor. But she also said USB-C has been in a bunch of Apple products for years. So why did it take so long to actually bring it to the iPhone? And the answer is money. They know when it comes to licensing and a bunch of other stuff and Lightning and just not having to retool certain things, it's just easier and cheaper for them to continue doing things the way that they were. But as I said before, what's the point of this entire video? To show you how you as the customer are constantly screwed when it comes to what Apple chooses to do. Now, I had to go out, well, not go out, just go over there. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Well, the suitcase is over there, but it looks like I'm pointing that direction. But you know what I'm saying. I went to go get this phone, which is the first phone that I ever purchased that had a USB-C port on it. And I know I'm in the small window, so it's going to be kind of hard to see it, but there it is. I got this phone back in 2016. So that's what, 7 years ago that I started using USB-C with my cellular devices. And the only time that I wasn't able to use this type of port was when I started using an iPhone again. So all of my products, meaning this MacBook, this Lenovo, I have another Mac over there, my other cell phones that I've collected, they all charge using the same port. But when it comes to the iPhone, I'll say because of the iPhone, I have a single lightning cable over there, and I have one in my car, and I think I might have one in my travel bag, because I know, yeah, I need to carry along this additional cable to charge this one device. But that's not, I got a little off track. The point was to show this graph right here, where USB 2 is all the way down here. Then they act like they're gracing us by giving us USB 3 speeds, which, according to the standard, 5 gigabits per second is the minimum, and we could get up to 10 or 20. So yes, he is correct by saying, oh, it's 20 times faster. But it's a decision that Apple could have made years ago to not make it sound like in the year 2023, oh, we're finally getting blessed with something that's somewhat of a modern technology. So it's their fault that we are now seeing something that is 20 times faster than something that came out 23 years ago. So don't come at us like that, as if, oh, we're doing you guys a favor. But I'm happy that I just happened to stumble across this yesterday or the day before, and it shows that, okay, well, even though USB 3 is extremely fast compared to USB 2, which I also need to let you know that USB 3 came out in 2008, so that's 15 years ago. USB 4 came out a few years ago, and you can see that the minimum requirement for that is 20 gigabits per second, which is still twice what Apple is now giving us for their USB 3 offering. But as you can see, USB 4 does allow for additional options, so forth and so forth. And this whole Thunderbolt section is kind of a proprietary thing with Intel. So it's there, but showing what is possible in terms of what is currently available on the market. USB 5, I don't think is technically out yet, but Thunderbolt, not USB 5, Thunderbolt 5, but USB 4 has these other offerings. Thunderbolt 3, Thunderbolt 4 is available, has these offerings. And it's important to know that Apple was involved in the creation of one, I think, of USB-C, not I think I know, but then also the Thunderbolt standard. I feel like they somehow were involved with all of that. And there's no reason that they aren't using that on all of their products. So do we need Thunderbolt? Not necessarily. Is USB 3 more than adequate? It is, but bring it to all your devices. And then since we know that they want to differentiate between their Pro level and their non-Pro level, put USB 4 on the Pro then, or put USB 3 on all of the devices and give us 5 gigabits on the regular and 10 or 20 on the Pro. But 5 gigabits or 10 gigabits or even 20 gigabits isn't a Pro level feature for anything, especially when, and it's over there, my MacBook Air has a Thunderbolt port on it. In fact, has 2 Thunderbolt ports on it. And we know that's not a Pro level device, but you might say, well, it's a computer. They're all computers. Whatever the form factor is, whatever. They're all computers. They could have slapped a freaking Thunderbolt port on the bottom of that iPhone 15 if they wanted to. There's a Thunderbolt port on the iPad Pros, which is a tablet, which is just a big iPhone. So they could have done it if they wanted to, but they chose not to. So I think I've gone over this graph enough. Hopefully it gives you a depiction of what the issue is. USB 2, way down here, also came out 23 years ago. USB 3, which came out 15 years ago, is still slow compared to what's available. But yes, it is faster, way faster than what Apple has given us this far. So, as I've said before, what's the point of this video? To show you, as the consumer, who continues to get screwed? Only you. there's no reason that Apple hasn't given us more already, and there's no reason they can't give us more right now. So yeah, keep all this in mind. All right. So the other thing that the young lady mentioned, and I'm still going to be referencing what they talked about in addition to what's on the screen, she mentioned that earpods, are coming to, or are now going to have the USB-C port on the bottom, which, yes, thanks. And I'll probably end up getting a pair at some point. But she says, oh, well, they work seamlessly with iPhone. Yes, they will, or with iPhone 15. But my question is, if you've already had products out that only have a USB-C port on them because you took the headphone jack away, why didn't you create those AirPods with USB-C a while ago? And did I say AirPods? If I said AirPods, I meant earpods. Why didn't you create those wired headphones a year ago, or years ago? Right now, what we're looking at are the tech specs for the iPad mini that came out 2 years ago, I believe 2021. And the two things that I want to point out, or really the one thing, two things, is one, this offers USB 3.1 speeds, which is 5 gigabits per second. So yes, if you can remember that chart, way faster than what's going on with the iPhone 15 or anything prior to that. But it's half as fast as what's going to be available on the iPhone 15 Pros. But still, 5 gigabits, more than acceptable. And as I've said before, 5 or 10, by no means is that a pro level feature. And it's evident because this iPad mini is not a pro device. So why did they give 3.1 speeds on a non-pro iPad, but they won't give 3.1 speeds on a non-pro iPhone? Money, of course. And again, at the end of the day, who gets screwed? You, the consumer. Also, it outputs video over USB-C, native DisplayPort, which I keep bringing up that Mac because that has nothing to do really with this video, but it bothers me that I can't get video out of these two ports, which I keep pointing at them, but you can't see them, but they're right there. And on this screen, what you're seeing are the tech specs for the iPad Air, which I believe came out last year. Again, a non-pro device, because they have the iPad Pro, so this is a non-pro device, USB-C port on it, USB 3.1 Gen 2 speeds, which is the 10 gigabits per second, which is the same speed that's now on the iPhone 15 Pro. Why does this non-pro device get the same speeds as the Pro iPhone 15? Don't know. And then, of course, native DisplayPort out over USB-C, which, again, that little guy, I hate that I can't get video out of those two ports. All right. The other thing that the gentleman mentioned in the video is that they've put a new controller on the A17 Pro chip in the new iPhone 15 Pro that allows for USB 3 speeds, which in the past, they have never mentioned needing to have to put some type of special controller on any of the chips. And what I want to show is this screen right here. All right, so we've already talked about the iPad mini that came out a couple years ago. We've talked about the iPad Air that came out last year. But we didn't talk about the iPhone 13. But what's important to realize is the fact that the chip in the iPhone 13, which is the, let's scroll down, where is it? Where is it? I know you probably see it. There it is. So the Apple A15 Bionic, okay? That's the exact same chip that came over here in this iPad mini. All right. And if I look, maybe even the iPad Air 4th generation might have also had that chip. The latest iPad Air has an Apple M1, which is cool. But these two machines have the exact same chip. But what's different, which is another point of this video, is talking about the USB speeds. So they have the same chip, but they have different USB speeds. So the iPhone, of course, has USB 2 speeds. Meanwhile, this iPad Air, non-pro device, 1, has a USB-C port, 2, allows for data transfers at 5 gigabits per second, and 4, also outputs video over it. So the gentleman was talking as if, oh, we needed to put this new controller in the chip to allow this to happen. No, you didn't. because the chip in the phone and this iPad are the same, and you gave the capability to one of them, but you didn't give it to the other one. And you might say, oh, well, Lightning is the only option for Lightning is USB 2 speeds. Like it's a hardware limiting thing. There's nothing you can do about it, and that's wrong. If we go back to the iPad Pro that came out in 2017, we come down here. Yes, it still had a Lightning connector, but it operated at USB 3 speeds. So nobody can say, Apple can't say, oh, well, Lightning is hardware limited to USB 2 speeds. No, it's not. You made a product that came out many years ago that allowed for USB 3 speeds, but those speeds just never came to the iPhone. And you might say, this isn't important. And I've gotten to the point now where I don't care as much because I found other means to do what I need to do. But if Apple and other companies are marketing their products, especially the phone and even the iPad, but especially the phone, as a movie-making device, you got the cameras on the back that are amazing. You can shoot entire movies on these things. Music videos. I think one of the famous people, recently shot an entire music video on a phone. But if you record everything on there, we're talking gigabytes, 20, 30, 40, 50 gigabytes worth of video footage to try to get that stuff off of your phone, either through the Lightning port at USB 2 speeds, or a USB-C port at USB 2 speeds, or uploading it to some cloud, is an absolute nightmare. I tell you that right now. I've attempted to, I've attempted to move stuff on and off of this phone, and I have another one over here that has USB 2 speeds on it, and it is an absolute nightmare. So believe me, you can't have it both ways. I mean, of course they do say, oh, it's a movie making device, but when you want to take stuff off of that phone and actually edit it or store it somewhere or do whatever, yeah, it's going to take you about 3-4 hours to do it. What? So yeah, this screen right now, just to say, Lightning is not hardware limited to USB 2 speeds. Apple could have given USB 3 speeds to all the iPhones this entire time. They just chose not to. And as I was saying, it might not be important to you, but if Apple's marketing it one way, the phone one particular way, you need to give the user the capability to actually do everything, the entire process. I've recorded the movie on the phone, or the music video, or whatever, or even just home videos. I need to get this stuff off the phone. Yes, I could upload it to a cloud, but there are a lot of us that don't do that, and we do stuff locally here. How long is it going to take me to get all this stuff off the phone? Oh my gosh, you plug it in, you start copying, and oh my gosh, this is going to take forever. So USB 3, great. It needs to be at a minimum on all of their products. Cool. All right, the last thing that I'm going to talk about, which we are 30 minutes into this. After some editing, this will come down. But the last thing that I've really been pissed off about, because I've gotten over the USB-C stuff. I mean, now that it's here, it's not as big of a deal. But I'd honestly kind of gotten over it. The video out stuff was kind of a new wound, so I don't know if I'm over that yet because of this particular computer over here that I'm pointing at. What I don't like, and I don't know, I haven't gotten over it, and maybe I will, is the fact that last year, for the iPhone 14, they removed the physical SIM card, or the physical SIM card slot. And you might say, well, what is that? It's the little slip, it's a little card. I don't think I have one in this phone right now. But shout out to Sony right here, making a phone where you can remove the SIM card tray without a tool. You can just use your little fingernail right here, and it comes right out. And I just dropped the SD card. Another thing, which I need to make another video about, but people have complained about how expensive it is to increase storage, which I did about the Mac. Hey, you know what a solution is? An SD card, which a lot of phones unfortunately no longer have them in there. But yeah, that's a cheaper way for the user to be able to increase their own storage. But the whole point of me even talking about that was, yeah, the SIM card is a little thing that goes in the phone. I'm sure you know what it is. But Apple removed it for the iPhone 14 and later. So this year and last year, the only way to activate the phone is to use what's called the eSIM, which I apologize if you already know what that is. But just imagine, yeah, it's all of your carrier information it's a little chip that allows for all of your carrier information to be embedded on one of the little microchips on the phone. All of the phones probably since, I don't know, let's say the iPhone 11. I'm making that number up because I really don't know. Maybe even the iPhone 10. I really don't know. They've all had the option for the user to activate the eSIM, but they also gave the option to use the physical SIM. So if you wanted to do one or the other, you could do one or the other. But removing the physical SIM card just isn't necessary. And as I've said before, it only hurts you. Just so you know, they made the iPhone 14 without the SIM card available only here in the United States. The rest of the world still has the physical SIM card for the iPhone 15, for the iPhone 14 as well as the iPhone 15. So that's a US only issue, and it only hurts you, the consumer. And you might be saying to yourself, well, and in fact, let me just come over here just to show. So is this comparing them? No, that's something else. So yeah, down here, I'm on the iPhone 15. Well, I'm comparing them all, the Pro Max, the Pro, and the Pro of last year. And they all accommodate 2 eSIMs, not compatible with physical SIM cards. And if you right now were to actually go, which I probably could do it, I just don't feel like doing it. In fact, no, I'm going to go do it because this video is here. So if you were to go to Apple's Canadian website, I'm here on the iPhone 15 Pro's portion of it. Look, dual SIM, nano SIM, and eSIM, or dual eSIM support, which is fine. Having the eSIM has never been a problem, but removing the physical SIM is a problem. And yeah, this is just Apple Canada. So up here, apple.com/CA. So for the country code. But yeah, so that's to show you that, yeah, and I'm not going to go to every Apple site for around the world, but just believe me that if there is another country that doesn't have a physical SIM in the iPhone anymore, I don't know what it is, but I definitely was looking last night to, where can I get a phone from? Or really, it's who do I know in another country right now that could buy the phone for me and send it back here? So I got a couple options. I might end up actually doing that. But the issue is, because some might say, well, Apple is just turning over a new leaf for 2022 and on. For all of their products, they're going to get rid of the physical SIM only in the United States. And I'm sure the end goal is to get rid of the physical SIM for all their products around the world, but they have to be on board. But the carriers in the area have to be on board. There's only 3 carriers in this country. We don't move around countries as easily as I get some of the European countries because, they're a lot smaller. So, the next country is always a train ride away. But what needs to be, I guess, held true is that, yes, the iPhone 14 came out last year. Yes, Apple decided to remove the physical SIM tray in the iPhone 14. But this base model iPad also came out last year. So 10th gen regular iPad. And if we scroll down, where is it? Nano SIM. So why can I get a physical SIM card on this base model iPad, but I can't get it in my iPhone? They both came out the same year. What's the strategic vision for this? And I don't even have to answer that question. The vision is to screw you, the consumer. That's all that it is. So by all means, I feel like everything that I've laid out here, yes, I have another friend who would say, well, they're business strategies. Yeah, they are. And I can't dispute that statement. They are all business strategies. But every time her and I would get into a debate, it's like, well, so what? You want me just not to have an opinion? Because that's what you're saying, that I have an opinion on their business strategy. I don't like it. But yeah, everything that I've showed, in my opinion, is just showing you that Apple makes a crap ton of money. Apple will do whatever they can to screw you, the consumer, whether it's globally or here locally in the United States. So if I could recap, it's way too expensive to increase storage in the Mac and in the phone. We didn't even look at the phone prices to increase storage. But again, if I were able to put in my own SD card, then I would buy the base model or whatever, and yeah, throw a whole terabyte. I mean, this is only 64 gigs. But, throw something into the phone. Same thing with the Mac. I would buy the base model, whatever, and just for another $100, increase my storage by 1, maybe even 2 terabytes. Same thing with RAM. Yeah, you're not going to add your own RAM in a smartphone, but for laptops and desktops, if I could add my own RAM, I'd buy the base model, whatever, add my own RAM later. USB 3 is not new. USB 2 is even older, so definitely not new. There are certain iPads that have USB 3 on them that are not Pro devices. Why is Apple treating USB 3 as if it's a Pro level feature for the iPhone? Doesn't make any sense. And lastly, the SIM card. It makes it so easy to be able to transfer phones like I do if I have a physical SIM card. Okay, I have several phones just laying around here right now, and I use 2, maybe 3 of them primarily, really 4. But it's easy when I can move SIM cards around. But with an eSIM, Apple and all the other companies, whether it's hardware vendors or the mobile operating systems, the cell phone service providers that we have not made it a seamless thing to transfer eSIMs the way that it is seamless right now to transfer physical SIMs. Yes, somebody might say, well, it's Apple's vision that in 2022, that's when they started this transition to eSIM only devices. Well, the iPhone is eSIM only in the United States, but they released an iPad last year in the United States and around the world that has an eSIM as well as a physical SIM. So why wasn't that the strategic vision as well for the iPad that came out last year? But it doesn't matter. All of this stuff is just going to show that you, the consumer, are the person that loses at the end of the day.